Stones we carry, clothes we lived in, all the tales we will tell our children. Oh, we're taking the high road. Lay beside me, wake the morning, ever after, day reborn in. Oh, we're taking the high road. I'm setting the sun, I'm ready to run, I'm walking a tightrope. I give you the fall, spring singing a song, we're taking the high road. We're taking the high road. We're finally awakened, we're taking the high road. Hearts are wayward, sun is swollen. Rest tomorrow, the ways unfolding. Oh, we're taking the high road. We're finally awakened, we're taking the high road. I'm setting the sun, I'm ready to run, I'm walking a tightrope. I give you the fall, spring singing a song, we're taking the high road. We're taking the high road. We're finally awakened, we're taking the high road. As long as it takes us, we're taking the high road. Wherever you are, well, you know I will follow. Rivers to oceans, today and tomorrow. Wherever you are, well, you know I will follow. Rivers to oceans, today and tomorrow. Taking the high road. Taking the high road. Taking the high road.
So, hello and welcome back to Star of Leo. I hope you're all good. I haven't been doing like a chatty vlog for a week or two because we actually moved to like a lakeside place to stay for a few weeks, just to sort of wade out the last of the quarantine business. And yeah, during the last few weeks, quite a lot has actually happened here. we've actually adopted a new dog. It was not exactly a spur of the moment thing. Me in particular, I've actually wanted a dog for a few years, and it felt like the right time to just get the dog. I mean, it felt like it was meant to be. So our friends that also live in Lisbon, they recently got a dog, actually like 2 weeks ago, and I just said to Thomas, this seems like, you know, like a sign that actually if they can do it and, you know, think, oh, that's the right time, then we should do it too. So yeah, we got, her name is Sasha. She's not a specific breed, she's a sort of mixed breed, but she sort of looks a bit like a Labrador mixed with a hound or something. But she is honestly the cutest dog you could ever wish to have if you're adopting a first dog. The people at the shelter, they said, oh, she's gonna pee a lot and, you know, whatnot in the house, and she's gonna be basically kind of, you know, really difficult to be with at the first week or something. But I mean, she's peed once here, but she's been so sweet and really, to be honest, very easy to have in the house. I've never had a dog before. This is a new thing for me, and actually, like, okay, there was points where I thought, oh God, have I made the wrong choice? Was it too early to adopt a dog? Is this the right time, you know? Because everyone is stressed and you feel like you're not thinking straight because this is, you know, quarantine time. But, you know, I'm a naturally anxious person anyway, so anything new that I come across will obviously cause me a bit of anxiety. But behind all of that, there's so much joy that we've already gained from having Sasha, and she's just like a constant reminder to live in the present moment, basically. The whole point of getting Sasha was not to sort of keep us down, keep us like settled in a way. You know, when people get pets, they sort of seem to settle down and they can't travel much, and everything seems to be so much more difficult. But we've talked about it a lot, and we have made a point of acknowledging the fact that Sasha's not going to stop us from traveling, and in fact, she's going to come with us, you know, to England when we go back to England, and we've looked at all the ways of like transporting her. It's honestly not as difficult as I thought it'd be. Okay, that's the big news of the time. So yeah, apart from having Sasha and having this new place to sort of be around in the last few weeks, it's been quite nice. We've had a lot of like good quality nature time here. As you can see behind me, we've got the trees, and behind the trees is a really lovely lake, and then beyond that is a beautiful coastline. It's absolutely amazing. One thing, having Sasha when I walk her, it's really difficult to record anything, especially now that she's a puppy and she's pulling a lot. So I was thinking I need to figure out a way to like sort of maybe tie the leash to my waist and then have her walking like that. But anyway, I'll update you more on Sasha. Maybe I'll do another video actually in a few days. I just wanted to get settled and there was a lot to settle with. I'm going to update you on the books I've read and the new books that I've just recently ordered and got in. They actually arrived an hour ago, and I ordered quite a lot of books, and Thomas was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of books. But I said, like, I'm gonna read them all. It's not like, you know, I'm just getting books to put, you know, on the shelf and have them sitting around. That's not the point of it. Sorry that Sasha is just, I put her outside because she's absolutely impossible to have when you're sitting down and you really want to concentrate on something. But she's so sweet and she's just like whining and really wanting to be let in, and it's adorable. God, she's so cute. Okay, so I've made a cup of coffee. and I hope she'll be okay. We're planning to take her out on a really lovely dune walk, which is like a coastal cliff walk just next to the sea. I actually made a video on that walk. Yeah, I'll link you to that video when I finish this. Yeah, okay. So, I'm gonna tell you about my favourite book, the book that I've read recently, which I absolutely loved, and it was so amazing, and it was sort of like an unexpected read to love, actually, as much as I did, because, you know, when I watched the series, okay, I'm talking about Tess of the D'Urbervilles, with this beautiful edition. It's probably the wrong way around because I'm using like the inverted sort of camera angle. Yeah, there was a series that came out on BBC years ago, I think it was 2005 or something, with Gemma Arterton, okay, something like that. And I actually recently rewatched it and I loved it, it was great. But at the time I thought, back when I watched it years ago, I thought it was quite depressing. And you know, the problem with making such honestly, an amazing book, which is perfect in the form of words, because the gorgeous thing about Thomas Hardy's writing is the poetic way he manages to describe every ordinary, simple situation. And I couldn't stop reading every time I picked up this book because it felt like I was entering another world and another time, and I just felt immersed in this old English life, and I felt so connected to Tess and so sympathetic to what happened to her, and obviously angry with the men and how they treated her. But I thought, like, you know, I expected to read this book and think, oh, it's depressing because the series was depressing. But the point is, the series couldn't connect you enough to Tess, the character, and the story, because, you know, when you read the actual book, it isn't depressing at all. Because actually, in fact, I thought it was one of the most romantic stories I've ever read, you know, despite the sort of tragic ending. And the tragic ending makes it almost all the more romantic. There was the point, you know, the point where Tess meets Angel again at the farm where she's working, and their love develops. This is the sort of this scene. These chapters are such a romantic set of basically where their love develops, where she starts to realize she has deep feelings for Angel. You know, she met Angel years ago at like a country, like a dance, and this was before the incident happened where Alec raped her. So in Tessa's mind, she was this pure sort of maiden at this time when she could have been the perfect woman for Angel. But like the tragedy happened, and then afterwards she met again, you know, Angel, and she had these deep feelings for him, and he had these feelings for her. And there's always this sort of like this intense emotion for him, but also this pulling back, this sort of resistance, because she feels like she is a fallen woman, and that he can never love her fully because of what happened to her. And there's always this push-pull motion of like feelings, of intensities, of full-on passion and love, and then full-on rejection of herself, and the fear of you know what he would think if he found out, and the honest loathing of herself, and the blackened part of her kind of virtue. And I just feel so sorry for Tess in the way that, you know, all these events, they happened, it wasn't her fault, but it doesn't matter in the end. And like, as her mother says, these things happened, and, you know, what's past is past, but Tess can't let go this thing, this bad thing that had happened to her, and she constantly takes it with her everywhere she goes, and she can't believe that someone can love her when such a thing had happened to her, and it did transpire that, you know, Angel thought she wasn't the same woman when she told him finally. Oh my gosh, it's a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous book. The one of my favourite books. I was telling Thomas, probably even more so than Jane Eyre. I just love Thomas Hardy's writing. It feels like I can forget about the world around me and just read and read and read without even stopping, like, for hours. And I read this book in like 3 days. Yeah, I also enjoyed his other book. I finished Far From the Madding Crowd. I didn't enjoy it as much as Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Obviously, this book is an earlier book he had written, so as he got more experience with his writing, he became obviously clearly better at writing and developing a story and creating insanely good characters. But yeah, Far From the Madding Crowd is also another great book. The quality of his writing is just something I wish, like, you know, we had studied Thomas Hardy's writing at school, because I would have enjoyed it so much. There is a film with Carey Mulligan, which is actually good, but when you read the book, you can really see into the character's mind, state of mind. And in a way, it's like, yeah, Bathsheba, she's a very independent, strong woman. She takes on the farm when her uncle dies, and there are suitors, particularly Gabriel Oak. He's in love with her and has been in love with her since when, you know, they first met. There's been the tragedy of losing all of his sheep, and then he came back into her life when she got the farm. And then a whole host of characters come into the scene, and it's almost like a test of Bathsheba's kind of, I don't know, a test of her personal strength and what she is willing to let happen to herself, and how that changes her as a character and a person. We have Gabriel, who was seemingly, and, you know, in my opinion, and it is that, you know, in the end, that Gabriel was the sort of the best of the bunch, the best man, the sort of most honest and true and faithful, because he's always been there for her, and through everything she went through, he was always there to sort of support her. And yeah, especially when you see, I love the character that plays Gabriel in the Carey Mulligan film Far From the Madding Crowd. I just feel a lot, you know, he manages to bring that emotion out of him just through his eyes and through his facial expressions. But anyway, she rejects him, and then she manages to encourage, oh, bloody hell, I forgot his name. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. So she manages to encourage Boldwood, which is the next suitor, who is an older man who has fallen in love with Bathsheba, who has fallen in love with Bathsheba because she sends a Valentine's Day gift out of a stupid moment of feeling like silly and wanting to do something funny, and then he falls in love with her and then is devoted to her up to a point where he actually like goes a bit nuts, you know, and manages to end up in prison and, you know, all that. And this is sort of the sort of thing which you don't really get from the film, and the book is much more rich with imagery and description. And Troy, the officer, the lieutenant, yeah, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but he's in the army. He's been in the army, and he's had a love affair with this young woman who comes into the picture as Fanny, who is poor and sort of destitute, and it turns out that they were going to marry, but somehow the marriage doesn't sort of happen, and she comes back into the story later towards the end, and it's a sort of tragedy. And this is after Bathsheba and Troy are married, and the marriage is a sort of a failed one. And this is the point where Bathsheba, I think, is growing as a character and a person, where she's starting to realise that actually, she's being tested, and her sort of strength, where she felt like she was the strongest person, is being questioned. And you're really seeing the sort of breaking down of her character, but also a building up of her character too, into a new, more complicated woman. I think it's a great book in the way that it sort of hardly explores the different sort of relationships between the men and Bathsheba, and how she responds to their kind of advances, and how and her perspective of love and what it means to her, and how it sort of like pushes her, towards the end to be like, what does love actually mean to her, and what is the sort of it's a good question actually for any person to think about. Who is the right person for you, and is the person in your mind actually the right person for you, or are you just sort of putting an ideal image of like what the right person would be for you? Yeah, so I finished those books, and then I had to read Pride and Prejudice. It's such a shame because this cover is gorgeous, but the kind of the printed patterns are faded after a week of reading it, but I love it. There's nothing really to say about Pride and Prejudice other than it's a really, really entertaining, well-written book by Jane Austen, and I haven't read this book in probably 10 years actually, and I thought I'd pick it up again because I was missing England, and I thought I really need something very English, and I thought, okay, let's read Pride and Prejudice, and I wanted to see if I still liked it since the last time I read it, and I really do. And I rewatched the Keira Knightley film. Oh my gosh, that film is so good. It is so cinematic. Each scene has been carefully planned out. The lighting is absolutely gorgeous. The acting I really love. I really loved Keira Knightley in Pride and Prejudice. Ever since I first watched it when I was probably 13, I sort of idolized Keira Knightley because I thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world, and I just wanted to be her so badly at that time. I remember thinking, if only I had like her gorgeous brown eyes or something, I would be so happy, And the film is just perfect, actually. In all honesty, I think it's equally as good as the book in a way. It has its own positive points, actually. But the book is timeless. I feel like any person could enjoy it if you take the time to read it through sort of like carefully. You're obviously not going to understand everything because Old English written in Jane Austen's time is difficult to read even for a native English person like me. But there's something quite fun in being able to read something which is challenging. Like I said, you need to push the boundaries and sort of accept that you're going to be uncomfortable when you're reading a book. When you're reading a book that is maybe a bit more complicated in the language, it's written in. And actually you come out feeling like, almost like you've had a mental exercise and you've sort of like expanded yourself and made yourself for future sort of reading more like able to read complicated things, and this is modern things I'm talking about. I was thinking of ordering more books by Rebecca Solnit. I love her essay work. I read, I'll post a link. I read one of her books about herself, her journey as a woman, as a young woman, and being harassed by men and sort of pushed down by men. And I think it was quite enlightening in, to read her perspective and to sort of link my own, my own experiences of being a woman and seeing how, society has sort of imprinted certain views onto how I should act and how I should be. And I can see it so clearly now, I can see like certain things that have sort of grated on me, but I've not realised why. And, reading books like hers really puts in perspective, actually. So I'm going to power through it. And this will be maybe part 1 of the video, and then I might film another one when the battery runs out. And then, we can have another video in 2 days or something. Anyway, I like filming videos. I'm actually getting quite used to talking on the camera. It's really relaxing and makes me feel like I'm having a chat with like a friend or something. Lately, like Oxy, you're probably watching this, and maybe Mick, that I haven't talked much on the phone, but I felt so distant. I don't know, I just feel physically distant from everybody because I feel like I can't see anyone, I can't go visit. And I just felt like, there's nothing I can say on a Skype or a phone to sort of express how I feel, and I feel like I can't be fully myself when I'm just on that Skype, just being like that. It's not at this time when I feel so frustrated that I can't travel, I can't like do anything, what I want to be doing, and I just feel like that sort of energy is gone for now. But I feel like I miss you guys so much, and I can't express how much I miss you, and I'm not just enjoying life being here, but I actually miss you so much, honestly. I can't wait to see you guys again. Okay, running through the books really quickly. Sorry. Inspired by my readings of Pride and Prejudice and my desire to like reincorporate myself into English sort of culture, I've needed a bit more of like Jane Austen's work. So I bought Emma, which I've never read before, so I'm really, really excited. I watched the film with the actress that played the chess champion, and it was really great. I really loved the humour, and I love Bill Nighy, and I found it really funny and actually quite great for this time where I feel like a bit trapped and I needed a bit of fun. I also have got Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I haven't read this, it looks great. I really want to try new books that I might not have thought of before, and I watched the film before, and I watched the film actually in Berlin when we lived there with Saoirse Ronan, and it was great. Honestly, it was great, but I was with Thomas, and it's not his sort of film, and I just felt a bit like, oh god, he's not enjoying it, and the whole time I was thinking it was a little bit like, too much in some ways, a bit like, not over the top, but I thought like, yeah, I have a sister, but I've never acted that sort of hyperactive and, over dramatic. I don't know, maybe they were trying to be all like, I don't know, I literally, maybe it's not my thing, but I will watch it again and see if I like it. Sense and Sensibility, I bought that too because I read that years ago, 10 years ago, and I loved it. I really loved the BBC series. That was actually a very good series. Lately, I've just been finding films that I really have enjoyed in the past. Sorry, the Sasha's like chasing a fly. So yesterday I watched The Theory of Everything, and it just makes me so. It makes me honestly so inspired to watch films, biopic films of like people who have been influential in life. And Stephen Hawking is one of my like sort of idols of being of a person who has done so much with himself and sort of used his talents to further the human race, humankind, and excel our understanding of the world. And it's a really intense film and made me cry because I just thought, people go through these seemingly like terrible things, and it was a terrible thing that he had to go through, and his wife Jane, of course. But they managed like years, to get through like a terrible time of where she had to look after him and do all these difficult things by herself and still continue with her own interests and pursue her own interests in life. And Stephen, he could have, it's such a good lesson in life to learn that you could give up on your life if you think everything is going wrong, and if you think, oh, this is terrible and I can't do this and that. But, he could have given up, but he knew that he had a mind and his mind still worked perfectly. And he achieved such remarkable things in his life. Even being disabled, truly disabled as he was, he didn't let it stop him, and he just kept going, and he just pursued what really interested him and lit him up and kept that fire burning inside of him. And I'm sure, like, when you have that sort of inner passion burning inside of you, it just keeps you going in a way that it prolongs your life. I'm sure of it. If you do something you love, it just keeps you going. And there's so many good quotes by Stephen Hawking on depression and what it means to be living and what it means to live a good life. When I feel down and I think, oh, life is being bad to me, I think about his situation and how lucky I am, and how lucky I am to just be young and sort of free, and to have interests like I do. I'm interested in good things like writing and reading, and I like being in nature, and I also like being in the city. I love exploring cities, and I like exploring landscapes, and I have a great husband and a family who are still all healthy and alive, and that makes me feel so privileged and content. And I think back to the times where I think, if I could be happy if I had a certain amount of success in my life. And it's such a shame, because it's like success and money doesn't define you as a person. And I've always believed, since I was young, I always believed that money was really the substance of a person, and success was the substance of, your value. You're valued in terms of how successful you've been. And I guess that's really what drove me to find the best school of fashion design in the world, and to get there, and that's how I got in, because I was ambitious, and I still am ambitious. This is just me. I feel like this is me as a person, and I couldn't be anything otherwise. But the limits have become the kind of what I believed. I'm not the same person, and I believe that happiness comes in different forms, and true happiness comes with enjoying the day-to-day life, and the acceptance of the fact that every day you're not going to be achieving something remarkable every day, but the small achievements are the things that that in fact are actually quite mundane, as they say. And the thing about having Sasha is that she's now letting us both enjoy the small mundane things now. We just look at her and she's just sleeping, and you think, oh, she's sleeping and she's enjoying life, And that's great. I feel like many people hate the idea of growing up and growing old, but for me, I believe that I'm growing up and I'm growing into myself. I'm becoming a better version of myself, a more interesting, well-defined version of myself, and that's the most important thing. And that's why I feel like, I'm encouraged by getting older and, and seeing what experience that brings. I have to be quick. I'm really scared this thing is going to run out of battery. I picked this up, The Kansas City by Nick Bradley. It's a new author I've never heard of. Let me just read it. In Tokyo, one of the world's largest megacities, a stray cat is wending her way wending, is that a real word? Her way through the back alleys. And with each detour, she brushes up against the seemingly disparate lives of the city dwellers, connecting them in unexpected ways. But the city is changing. As it does, it pushes her to the margins where she chances upon a series of apparent strangers, from a homeless man squatting in an abandoned hotel to a shut-in hermit afraid to leave his house, to a convenience store worker searching for love. The cat encircles Tokyo's denizens? I really don't know what that is. Drawing them even closer, and it seems like just a very interesting book, and I like to sort of pick out books that I might not have touched because I think, it's not my sort of thing, but then in the end you might enjoy it more than you thought. So that's that one. I picked up The Mayor of Casterbridge by Thomas Hardy because I thought I have to read another one of his books, and I might pick up after this Jude the Obscure, because I've fallen in love with his writing, and I'm sure, his writing will influence my own and inspire me to write much more in a sort of more intense way, in a way that where I take my time to write something much more meaningful than sort of running through it really quickly. But don't you think this cover is absolutely amazing? It's just so beautiful. Oh my gosh. I'm just worried the things are going to rub off like the other books. But anyway, briefly describe the storyline. This man, he takes his child and his wife and they go to a fair, and they, in a drunken state of basically insanity, he sells his wife and his child or something at the fair, and then later on he becomes, he becomes the mayor of Casterbridge, and he has this past that he has to hide. And I feel like this is Thomas Hardy's strong point in his books, is where he creates characters who have had a troubled past, and they have to conceal this past, and it's a sort of like process of how do these characters manage to conceal their past and still be the person they are, and sort of, are they the person they are if they're concealing this past? Are they being real to themselves? And that's what I think I'm coming to like about Hardy's work, is this sort of like the hidden aspect of his characters and what they choose to reveal about themselves and how that comes across to people. Mayor of Casterbridge, and the last book I'm going to show you, which I bought, is Midnight in Sicily by Rob. I have never heard of this book or the author before, but Italy is one of my most favourite countries in the world, and if you ask me, I would absolutely love to live there for a period of time. It was the first country I went to on holiday, and actually I first took a flight and went on holiday when I was actually 19, so I was quite old to have a flight taken abroad. You know, a lot of people go with their families abroad when they were little, but my parents, they never wanted to take us abroad. I think they were too nervous about taking us abroad. It was out of their comfort zone. So I first travelled to Italy, and this was the place that I was most drawn to, and still am very drawn to. I've fallen in love with the Italian culture. Italian is something that I'm going to learn as a language. I really want to learn it properly and actually go there and be surrounded by Italian things and the culture and the words and the sound of the language. It's such a beautiful language. I think it strikes me like as if somehow like my past ancestors have lived there. That's how it feels to me, that I sort of have this history there somehow. I just feel so inspired when I go to Italy. The last time we went there, actually, it was for my honeymoon. We went to Sardinia, actually. And though I love Sardinia, I prefer mainland Italy because it feels more like, I don't know, more interesting to me in some way. So I bought this book. I'm going to read the blurb to you. Peter Rob's journey into the dark heart of Sicily uses history, painting, literature and food to shed light on southern Italy's legacy of political corruption and violent crime. Taking the trial of 7 times Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti for alleged mafia involvement as its starting point, Midnight in Sicily combines a searching investigation with an exuberant sensual appreciation of this beautiful and bewildering island. So it's not like a sort of easygoing fiction book like like Call Me by Your Name, even though I think that's a very high-end sort of literary book. I absolutely love it. I'm going to probably read it again, which is insane because I swear I read it every 3 months. That's how often I read it. But this is much more detail. Ooh, sorry. Oh God, I nearly dropped it. It's more of like the author taking us around with him and sort of we're coming along on his journey with him, and we're really getting in touch with what he feels and what he sees and smells and the senses and what he thinks about the political situation, especially of Sicily, which has a big problem with the mafia, and actually still does have a problem with the mafia. But it's something which the locals and I think there's associations and groups which are trying to challenge the mafia problem and really eradicate it for good, which is what is necessary and what is going to happen. Of course, it's an absolute insane thing to believe that people can be terrorized by the mafia. And today, I feel like in this day and age. There's quite a few good series about actually if you watch Italy Unpacked, they talk about the mafia. If there's some series that you can watch and it will really put in perspective how it's still going on, how it's still a problem for the local people, that people just want to run their businesses but they got the mafia just wanting a piece of the sort of profits, and they can't do anything about it because what can they do? They will be threatened or possibly murdered, and that's crazy actually. I'm really glad I've got all these books. There's something about having a lot of books around me that makes me feel comforted. So I can be here in a place that's not mine, but I can have all my books and I can feel relatively settled. But now more than ever, I think this is just me growing. I feel like I need to have a lot more books and I need to read a lot more, because I feel like if I'm not reading, I'm not growing mentally. And when I'm reading, I feel like I'm sort of feeding my own writing creativity. The problem, with me, I think and with a lot of people, artists and writers, is that you feel like you need to create something perfect in the first place. And that puts you off writing, because then you are totally scared of producing something that's not good enough, And I find in the past when I've written something without worrying too much, it's been great, better than I thought, and it just flows out of you naturally. And I think, you know, I did make a point for 2021 to be a sort of a year where I really focus on doing things meaningfully and consistently, as I had done when I'd written Cold Black Winter Heart, where I really pursued the writing daily and efficiently. Like I sort of had a regular time where I wrote, and it wasn't like a question of am I doing it or not. But the difference between then and now is that I was in a secure living environment where I was living in England and everything wasn't so stressful. As you know, when you live abroad, things are different and you sort of have a different culture and things seem a bit more, you know, harder to keep more focused. I don't know. But I really feel like really I need to publish a book. Like, this isn't a feeling of like, oh, you know, oh, you should. It's more of a feeling of I know this is the next step, and the book I'm writing now is sort of the next step, and I've got Cold Black Winter Hearts, and that's sort of there. And, you know, I'm trying to find my way and my direction in life, and at times I thought, oh, have I fallen off the right road? But I feel like I'm getting there, and I'm starting to not let anxiety rule my life as it did at one point a couple of years ago where it was bad. I just feel like I need to believe in myself much more. Even though I know, you know, I know I can do it, I feel like I need to have that kind of belief where nothing will alter it or affect it. It's like a more deep set belief where it's like, even if I feel crap one day, I can say, oh, that's fine, you know, tomorrow will be a better day. And, you know, my writing is never going to be affected by this because, you know, I know I'm good at it and I know I'm enough with that. Yeah, so I'm really surprised this camera has been running for so long, so I think I might say thank you so much for watching this video blog. It was definitely, I don't know, easier today because the camera was not just shutting off constantly, it was just running. And yeah, I feel like the whole fact that I've been living next to the lake here and being near nature has really helped sort of calm me and ground me and sort of get me away from this feeling of being quarantined and like this feeling of desperation to just get out and get back to normal. It's just like, you know, we walk on the beach now with Sasha, we're trying to train her, we're trying to get her back to normal. We're trying to train her to be off the leash if she's on the beach, so she can run around without pulling you on a leash and really get her energy out. Yeah, so we're going to do a really nice walk with her later by the dunes and through the forest. It's like a really beautiful forest walk. Oh my gosh, it is stunning. The forests here are very, very fairy tale-like and beautiful. So we're going to go through the forest and then over the dunes and then do a really beautiful walk and try to get her, again, like to train her to be off the leash. You know, I don't trust her yet with people and she definitely will run after other dogs, but we just want to see like what she can do. And honestly, it's quite a fun thing to try and train a dog and to really make her like see her own sort of capabilities in a way. Yeah, we're not the sort of people that would be like, you know, letting the dog on the sofa or the bed. We have these boundaries, and I think for a dog it's sort of needed. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there because it's going to be a very long video actually. But it was really nice to talk, and I'll make another vlog in a few days actually. Yeah, bye. Okay, I'm going to show you Sasha now. She's been waiting here so patiently while I've been filming this video. I feel so bad for her, but she can't come in when I'm doing nails. She will be like a nightmare. Okay, right. Oh. Come on, Sasha. Oh, do you like your bed? Do you like your bed? Oh my gosh, she's so cute. Oh, come on. She loves to follow me. Oh my gosh. She'll only go in this garden if I'm with her. Such a sweetie. And she loves going under my skirt. Oh my gosh. Come on. Ah! I can't film her, she's always following me. Oh my gosh, look how cute she is. What a little handful. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Oh my gosh, look at her ear. Oh my gosh, she loves to eat flowers as well. Yes, look at you.
Someplace we belong.
Such a cutie.
Take back all the time I worried your mind.
Oh my god.
Closer